हलफनामा में सब अपना मंत्री विधायक जितने होते हैं सब देते हैं, सब दिया हुआ है, उसमें कहीं कोई इस तरह की बात नहीं है।
नहीं हमको नहीं पता, इसके बारे में जानकारी हमको मिली है।
भाजपा और जदयू नीतीश जी साथ आए थे बिहार को अपराध, खौफ और जंगल राज से मुक्त करने के लिए, और अभी आपको एक हफ्ता नहीं गुजरा, कमाल का बिहार में संकेत दे रहे हैं।
Hello everyone, you're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. There has been a major embarrassment for the newly sworn in Bihar government. The law minister of the state, Kartikeya Singh, finds himself at the center of a scandal in connection to a kidnapping case that dates back to 2014. A warrant against Kartikeya Singh was issued before he became a minister. In fact, a court ordered him to surrender the day he took the oath of office. Kartikeya Singh is accused, along with 17 others, of planning the kidnapping of a builder named Raju Singh over a dispute regarding financial transactions with an intent to murder. What's more embarrassing for the state government is that Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has said that he was completely unaware of the charges against Kartikeya Singh. However, he has not announced any corrective action against the RJD MLC in his government. The BJP has come out all guns blazing against the state government, claiming that Jungle Raj has returned to the state. Now remember, the RJD is the big brother in this alliance. But out of 17 ministers from the party, 15 have criminal cases, while 11 have serious criminal cases against them. As Kartikeya Singh continues to duck the law, it begs the question, why has Nitish Kumar not taken any corrective action? Is he now willing to sacrifice his image as Bihar's Sushashan Babu just to hold on to power? Let's listen in to some of the reactions that came in on this story through the day.
देखिए, हलफनामा में सब अपना मंत्री विधायक जितने होते हैं सब देते हैं, सब दिया हुआ है, उसमें कहीं कोई इस तरह की बात नहीं है।
उनको वारंट जारी हुआ है सर कार्तिकेय पे?
नहीं हमको नहीं पता, इसके बारे में जानकारी हमको मिली है।
भाजपा और जदयू नीतीश जी साथ आए थे बिहार को अपराध, खौफ और जंगल राज से मुक्त करने के लिए, और अभी आपको एक हफ्ता नहीं गुजरा, कमाल का बिहार में संकेत दे रहे हैं। यह बहुत दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है, पीड़ादायक है, और भाजपा इसके खिलाफ जबरदस्त संघर्ष करेगी। हम पूरी विनम्रता से कहना चाहते हैं, नीतीश कुमार जी आरजेडी के सामने झुक गए।
All right, let me bring in my guests now. Nikhil Anand is the spokesperson of the Bihar BJP. Chitranjan Gagan is the spokesperson of and General Secretary of Bihar RJD. Lav Kumar is leader of JDU. Ajay Singh is lawyer of Supreme Court. And Yashwardhan Azad, former IPS officer. Also from the state of Bihar, he tracks Bihar very closely. Mr. Lav Kumar, I'm going to begin with you. Kartikeya Singh has a warrant against him. Shouldn't he surrender or seek bail? Instead, he's sworn in as the minister.
देखिए, सबसे बड़ी बात है कि अभी तक जब तक कोर्ट की कार्रवाई नहीं हुई, अभी उनपे कोई कर्सिव स्टेप नहीं लेने का कोर्ट ने एक ऑर्डर निकाला हुआ है 1 सितंबर तक। उस बीच में वो अपना बेल प्ली फाइल करेंगे, जैसा भी होता है कोर्ट का निर्णय होता है वो सब सर्वमान्य होगा। और सब जुडिस मैटर पे हम लोग बोलने के लिए भी अधिकृत नहीं है और बोलना भी उचित नहीं होता है। जैसा कि आज मैं रविशंकर जी को देख रहा था कि वो
लेकिन लव कुमार जी
कर रहे थे कि
मैं समझ रही हूँ, ये कोर्सिव एक्शन के बारे में क्लियरली लिखा है, नो कोर्सिव एक्शन ये ऑर्डर में। लेकिन मेरा आपसे सवाल ये है कि ये जो सरकार बन रही थी, तो क्या जरूरी था उनको ओथ दिलाना, अगर इस तरह का उनके अगेंस्ट में केस पेंडिंग है, जब अरेस्ट वारंट निकला हुआ है?
पॉलिटिकल लोगों पे बहुत सारे केस पेंडिंग रहते हैं। जब तक आप सजा याफ्ता नहीं हो जाते हैं तब तक आपको कैसे मान लिया जाएगा दोषी? ऐसे तो सारे लोगों पे 42% कैबिनेट में ऐसे मंत्री हैं मोदी मंत्रिमंडल में जिन पर केसेस हैं, 32% ऐसे लोग हैं जिन पर बहुत सारे चार्जेज हैं। तो ऐसे थोड़ी है कि सबको हटा दिया जाएगा। सबको इस तरह से अगर हटाया जाता तो किसी पर तो बहुत चार्जेज है। माननीय योगी जी पे आप खुद ही देख सकती हैं कि इतने चार्जेज हैं।
गो अहेड, हाँ बोलिए।
जी, इसमें 147, 148, 139, 295, 153 है। 307 इतनी सारी धाराओं पे योगी जी मुख्यमंत्री बने हुए हैं, कोई नहीं बोल रहा है इस पर। माननीय गृह मंत्री जी पर कैसे कैसे चार्जेज हैं।
निखिल आनंद, is the BJP just looking for issues now to target this government? Give them time. 100 दिन तो सब सरकार को दिया जाता है, उसके बाद जज किया जाता है। फर्स्ट डे से टारगेट कर रहे हैं आप।
नहीं, इसको बेचैनी, मेरा 1 मिनट टाइम दीजिएगा, 20 सेकंड टाइम दीजिएगा। बेचैनी ये नहीं है, अभी जो बिहार में विकास की एक नई रफ्तार तेज हुई है, जो हम रोजगार पे इस मुद्दे को लेकर आए हैं, जो हिंदू मुस्लिम पे अटक गया था डिबेट, जो सांप्रदायिक उन्माद पे डिबेट अटक गया था, उसको हम विकास के रास्ते पर ले गए हैं। उसी को डाइवर्ट करने की साजिश हो रही है। जब
नहीं, वो देखिए, अगर ये कोर्ट का ऑर्डर जो है वो तो वाकई सीरियस है। लव कुमार जी, आप लोग ये तो नहीं बोल सकते हैं कि चार्ज नहीं है, चार्ज है। जिस दिन उनको ओथ दिलाया जा रहा था, उसी दिन उनको सरेंडर करना था। सवाल ये उठता है कि वो सरेंडर कर लेते, या फिर ये जो ओथ है उनका बाद में दिलाया जाता जब उनको क्लीन चिट मिलता कोर्ट से। ये भी सवाल है। निखिल आनंद,
12 तारीख को ही 1 सितंबर तक उनको समय दिया गया था
भाई। लेकिन अगर नहीं, वो हम समझ रहे हैं कि 12 तारीख को समय दिया गया था, लेकिन shouldn't the government, shouldn't the chief minister and the deputy chief minister have waited? Let him be cleared by the court. There are enough and more MLAs who could have been sworn in. What was the need for having Kartikeya Singh in the cabinet, given the kind of charges that are there against him? Yes, please go ahead, Nikhil Anand.
See, we are not at all desperate to unnecessarily raise question on the government. Let the government function. But the point is that somebody who is forgetting and somebody who has been denied bail by the High Court and is still taking oath on the day he was about to be present in the court. So the hidden fact, and it is a matter of surprise, that the chief minister, it is the prerogative of the chief minister to know whom he is inducting into the ministry. So he should have checked the background. My point is that, another point is that, Tejasvi Yadav, in the second inning, I thought that he must have matured a lot. The kind of people he has inducted into the ministry as a colleague, that is going to harm his image. So we are not strictly, deliberately behind the government and we want to abuse this and that.
Okay, Mr. Gagan, respond to this. Respond to this, the point being made by Nikhil Anand largely of Tejasvi trying to rebuild his image, and is this induction of a tainted minister such as Kartikeya Singh denting his image? गगन जी
देखिए
बोलिए।
जहां तक इस तरह के सवाल उठाने का सवाल है, मैं तो पहले ही बता रहा हूं कि इस मामले को डाइवर्ट किया जा रहा है। जो मामला विकास पे हो, एक नीतीश कुमार के निकलने के बाद एक पूरे देश में माहौल बना है। जो नीतीश कुमार जी, आप मोदी को कोई चैलेंज देने वाला आ गया है और मोदी को 24 में गद्दी से हटाएगा, इसलिए ज्यादा बेचैनी है। और सत्ता जाने की ज्यादा बेचैनी है, जो अभी 4 से 5 दिन भी नहीं हुआ और भाजपा के तमाम लोगों में।
Okay, my question was for Chitranjan Gagan,
the way
the RJD spokesperson.
Come to the pressure.
Yes,
let me horrible. That is presenting
Chitranjan Gagan, respond to this. That this is also about the image of Tejasvi Yadav. He is trying to really rejig his image, present a clean government. Then why have somebody who has multiple charges? In fact, the Beta police had booked Kartikeya Singh under several sections of IPC, which includes kidnapping 363, 364 kidnapping with intent to murder, 365 secret unjustified kidnapping with intent to imprison. These are serious charges against his minister.
देखिए यही तो सवाल है कि चूंकि यह सब लोग जानते हैं कि एक अनुभवी लीडर नीतीश जी के साथ एक युवा नेतृत्व तेजस्वी यादव का जो एक दृढ़ संकल्प है बिहार को एक विकास के नई ऊंचाई पर ले जाने का, और यही परेशानी का कारण है कि शपथ ग्रहण करने के साथ ही माननीय मुख्यमंत्री और माननीय उप मुख्यमंत्री के शपथ ग्रहण करने के साथ ही इन लोगों ने इस ढंग से इनके राष्ट्रीय अंतर्राष्ट्रीय से लेकर और माने चौक चौराहा पर बैठने वाले नेता एक तरफ।
इतना सिंपल ओनर्स शिफ्ट करने से नहीं होगा। हम तो बहुत ओपन हमने अपनी बात रखी।
पहले बात तो हमारी बात तो सुनने, अरे बात तो सुनिए, अरे बात सुनिए ना।
आप नीतीश जी को के नेतृत्व में क्या करना चाहते हैं बिहार के?
निखिल आनंद जी, आप कंसर्न नीतीश कुमार के लिए हैं या बिहार के लिए हैं? क्योंकि आप मत भूलिए, थ्री मिनिस्टर्स who worked under Nitish Kumar had to step down over allegations of corruption. This is not for the first time it has happened. It has happened in the past as well. Okay, let me finish. Ramadhar Singh had to resign after he was found absconding in an old case in 2011. कौन था उनके साथ? आप थे उनके साथ। 2020 में क्या हुआ? JDU leader and education minister Mewalal Chaudhary had to resign following allegations of corruption.
बिल्कुल।
So are you worried about Nitish Kumar's image or are you worried about Bihar?
फिर से नहीं बने थे और हमने तो खुद बनाया ही नहीं। जिन लोगों पर आरोप थे, कम से कम फरारी वारंट किसी पर अगर जारी हो, कोई फरार,
देखिए बिल्कुल झूठ बोल रहे हैं। नहीं, गलत बयानी नहीं कीजिए, यह झंडा आप लोगों का है। झूठ बोलना, लोगों को गुमराह करना, दुष्प्रचार करना। कहां से फरारी की बात करते हैं? जिसको कोर्ट से नहीं, जिसको कोर्ट से आदेश मिल गया 2 सितंबर तक गिरफ्तारी नहीं करना है, आप कहते हैं कि फरारी। झूठ बोलना, केवल झूठ बोलने का आप लोगों का पैसा है। झूठ बोलकर लोगों को गुमराह करते हैं आप।
The old psyche has been revived.
नहीं, कोर्ट आप जो कहे हुआ नहीं, कोर्ट जो आपके अनुकूल लगे हुआ आप उसको आप एक्सप्लेन कीजिए, और कोर्ट जो आपके खिलाफ है उसको आप नहीं मानिए। नहीं, बिहार पॉलिटिक्स क्या, इंडिया के पॉलिटिक्स की बात कीजिए ना। सबसे बड़ा भ्रष्ट पार्टी।
यशवर्धन आजाद, help me understand how can the chief minister get away by saying that he did not know the background? Because if you look at the entire sequence of events, on February 19th, in fact, the first class judicial magistrate had declared him an absconder and issued an arrest warrant. The Patna High Court had dismissed his anticipatory bail in 2017. There is the entire timeline of the case. Whenever a MLA finds a place in cabinet, there is a background check that is done. Can the chief minister then? Can the chief minister one say?
नहीं मैडम, इसमें आधी सच्चाई है, आधी इसमें गलत बात है।
नहीं,
सवाल है कि कोर्ट ने उनके गिरफ्तारी पर रोक लगा दिया। और केवल
बोलने से अच्छा है सुन ले।
मेरे पास ये है, यस, इंफॉर्मेशन सही है, that Danapur Additional and District Session Court ordered the Mokama police to not arrest him until September 1st. But the moral question is also there before the RJD and the JDU. Yashwardhan Azad, help me understand what is the nature of the background check that is done.
You're absolutely right. Whenever any minister is inducted into the cabinet, any member of parliament or an MLA, a background check is always done, invariably done. And therefore, for the chief minister to say that he has no knowledge looks to me a little strange. Number two, I think it's unfortunate that right in the beginning of the cabinet formation, this is marred into politics because, you know, we have different standards of probity in this country. Almost every state is having tainted ministers. Now, in the case of Mr. Kartikeya Singh, is very, very clear about his background. He's aide to that strong man who we know as Chote Sarkar. And the very fact that an arrest warrant was out against him, there was no business because the case was instituted in 2014. And therefore, if the High Court has also dismissed his bail application, it is fairly evident that a man as tainted as him should not be inducted into the cabinet at all. Now, I also personally feel that I had a lot of expectations from Tejaswi because he's a young man and has a long career in politics, that he certainly need not have inducted people like him, and especially so the ironical part, Maria, is that he is a law minister. So a law minister reading the law is a little very strange.
Yes, and given the nature of portfolio that he has got, can he continue in that place or can he continue in the ministry is the big question. Before I bring in Ajay Singh, Chitranjan Gagan, single largest party hai RJD. There are enough and more MLAs. Why should somebody with this kind of background find a place in the cabinet? And that, and then he becomes the law minister.
नहीं मैडम, किसी पर आरोप लगा देने से ही आप उसको नहीं दीवार कर सकते। आरोप अगर ऐसा होने लगेगा तो कल हो सकता है किसी पर कोई आरोप लगा दे, उसके बाद कहे कि बैकग्राउंड का सर्टिफिकेट देने वाले कौन लोग हैं। अगर बैकग्राउंड के जो लोग आज बात कर रहे हैं उनसे यह पूछिए कि महाराष्ट्र में आप एक मिनट सुन लीजिए, आनंद जी एक मिनट सुनिए तो पहले उनसे यह सुनिएगा नहीं, सुनने की हिम्मत नहीं है आप में, नहीं आप सुनने की हिम्मत नहीं है, सच बर्दाश्त नहीं कर सकते हैं, सच बर्दाश्त नहीं कर सकते हैं।
You are all
मैं कह रहा हूँ कि भाजपा के लोग जो बोल रहे हैं, नैतिकता की बात कर रहे हैं, भाजपा के लोग जो नैतिकता की बात कर रहे हैं, महाराष्ट्र में अभी एक सप्ताह भी नहीं हुआ, अरे महाराष्ट्र में अभी एक सप्ताह भी नहीं हुआ, आपने वहां पर संजय राठौर,
किडनैपिंग, मर्डर, पॉस्को एक्ट, 1 दर्जन मंत्री नीतीश कैबिनेट में इंडक्ट किए गए हैं। अब क्या चाहिए?
आपका जो
नीतीश कुमार जी का जीरो टॉलरेंस ऑन करप्शन,
आपका तो बुनियाद करप्शन पर टिका हुआ है, क्या बात कीजिएगा? आपका तो पूरा बुनियाद, आपका बेस करप्शन पर जुड़ा हुआ है, वही आपका बेस
की बात नहीं,
नहीं आपका बेसिक ताकत वही है, उसी ताकत के बल पर आज जो आप अब कर रहे हैं कि आपका बेसिक
कुमार को, तेजस्वी यादव को डिफेंड नहीं कर सकते।
बेसिक ताकत वही है।
अजय सिंह as a lawyer, when you look at the timeline of this case and also this order which says that coercive action should not be taken, do you think there is enough reason why he should not have been included in the first place, and now because a warrant is there against him and he may have got time till 1st September, he should not continue in the cabinet?
Maria, with all due respect, I would like to mention 2-3 points here. In a matter, Manoj Narula versus Union of India, Honorable Supreme Court has observed that Chief Minister of a state not to induct charge-sheeted persons facing trial for offences involving moral turpitude and ministers, though there is no limitation for restrictions. The further bench said, criminalization of politics destroyed...
Ajay Singh ji, that's almost like an academic debate now. Criminalization of politics, in that case, we can go through all the states and each and every state has enough and more criminals in the cabinet.
Let me complete. What I want to point out,
yes,
the nature of allegation. The nature of allegation is not in relation to the political rivalry. The allegations are of kidnapping, intent to murder. These are heinous crimes. And you are making that person as a law minister. What will happen to the other people? How people will have faith in you?
Yes.
It is totally contradictory.
Yes, Chitranjan Gagan and Love Kumar, this is a question to both of you. Yes. Chitranjan Gagan ji, सवाल ये भी है कि वो लॉ मिनिस्टर हैं, विधि मंत्री हैं. How will he uphold the rule of law if he is running away from law?
आरजेडी जेडीयू को.
हाँ गगन जी बोलिए.
आप क्या बोलिएगा मारिया जी? पहली बात तो भाजपा को इस समय बोलने का कोई नैतिक अधिकार नहीं है, पहली बात. दूसरी बात, जब आरोप लगाना हो,
क्रिमिनल को लॉ मिनिस्टर बनाया है, आप
अरे आपकी तो पार्टी क्रिमिनल है.
हम लोग बात के
विधायक का अपहरण करने वाले
चित्रंजन गगन, I remember very clearly. Mr. Chitranjan Gagan, yes, पूरा कैंपेन आरजेडी ने चलाया था मेवालाल चौधरी के अगेंस्ट. You raised all the questions. One moment. Yes, Mr. Gagan, in 2020, when Education Minister Mevalal Chaudhary was found to be, there were allegations of corruption because of his tenure as Vice Chancellor of an agricultural university, you forced him to resign. What did you do? You forced him to resign. You forced Nitish Kumar to take action against him. Yes, आपने एक्शन करवाया क्योंकि आप लोगों ने पूरा वो कैंपेन किया कि करप्शन, अगर सुशासन बाबू है नीतीश कुमार तो किस तरह से करप्शन हो सकता है. तो ये सवाल तो अब आप पे आ रहा है, वो विधि मंत्री कैसे रहेंगे? निखिल आनंद, वन मोमेंट.
मेरा भी सवाल है.
निखिल आनंद, वन मोमेंट, लेट हिम स्पीक. यस,
निखिल जी को कहिए कि सुनने.
बोलिए. हाँ, ठीक है, बोलिए.
मेरा सवाल है कि निखिल आनंद जी जो बोल रहे हैं, यह जवाब दें कि महाराष्ट्र में भी एक सप्ताह पहले जो सरकार का गठन हुआ है मंत्रिमंडल का, उसमें जो है संजय राठौर जो उद्धव ठाकरे की सरकार थी, और यही संजय राठौर के खिलाफ भाजपा ने आवाज उठाने का काम किया था और उसे इस्तीफा दिलवाया था। और आज वही भाजपा की सरकार में संजय राठौर मंत्री हैं और निखिल आनंद जी सफाई देंगे, नैतिकता की बात करेंगे। नहीं, अरे किडनैपिंग का वो तो उससे भी घटिया है। वो तो जो है तो महिला को नहीं वो जो है पूजा चौहान को आत्महत्या के लिए बात किया गया। पूजा चौहान को आत्महत्या के लिए बात किया गया निखिल आनंद जी।
आज ही बीमा भारती ने आरोप
Chilies. My question then is, Chitranjan Gagan ji, okay, Nikhil Anand, just hold on to your thoughts, please, just wait. Okay, Chitranjan Gagan, the question is not what the BJP is doing in another state. My question is, when you mounted an entire campaign and ensured that a corrupt minister resigns, when that same chief minister was in alliance with the BJP, then the onus is on you now to ensure that you are part of a clean system. Can he continue in office? मुझे ये सवाल, मेरे सवाल का जवाब दीजिए. Can कार्तिकेय सिंह continue in office?
आप ही का सवाल का जवाब दे रहे हैं
जी.
यह मामला और मेवालाल चौधरी का मामला में फर्क समझिए। इसमें जो है पुलिस का जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन है उसको देखिए। पुलिस इन्वेस्टिगेशन में स्पष्ट रूप से कार्तिक सिंह को निर्दोष बताया गया है। पुलिस का इन्वेस्टिगेशन रिपोर्ट देखिए।
और इसीलिए
अब पुलिस का जो
हाई कोर्ट,
अरे अजय जी,
गजेंद्र सिंह है मोकामा पुलिस स्टेशन इंचार्ज, उनको एक रिपोर्ट में कोट किया जा रहा है गगन जी, जिसमें कहा जा रहा है that it is a lapse on part of a police officer at the police station to not execute the arrest warrant. We are initiating action against him. This is your government now. Love Kumar, please respond. गृह मंत्री हैं नीतीश कुमार, क्या कार्तिकेय सिंह कंटिन्यू करेंगे गवर्नमेंट में और will he be asked to resign? Go ahead.
एक बात
आपने बोल दिया, आपने अपना पॉइंट रख लिया। लव कुमार,
एक बात आप समझ लीजिए कि जो यह महागठबंधन की सरकार जो विधि सम्मत जो कार्रवाई होगी उसमें किसी के साथ कोई मरोवत नहीं है।
नहीं ठीक है, लेकिन विधि मंत्री है वो।
मारिया जी
कंटिन्यू एज द विधि मंत्री। यस लव
मारिया जी
भाजपा नहीं है, यह भाजपा नहीं है,
परिचित है। और नीतीश कुमार जी किसी को भी बचाते नहीं है। अगर जिस तरह से अभी चीजों को समझ रहे हैं, जैसे ही अगर लगेगा तो निश्चित तौर पर जो उचित समय पे उचित कार्रवाई की जाएगी। और पहले भी आपने देखा है, और जिस समय आज निखिल मंडल जी बड़ा उछल के कह रहे हैं कैसे मंत्री बन गए, इनके सहकारिता मंत्री थे 11 में रामाधार सिंह, कैसे मंत्री बन गए थे? उनको रिजाइन कराया,
इस्तीफा दिया था,
मांझी जी पे इल्जाम लगा,
इस्तीफा दिया था।
वही सवाल है। लव कुमार जी, वन मोमेंट लव कुमार जी, आई अंडरस्टैंड योर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू। ठीक है, रामाधार सिंह को रिजाइन करना पड़ा, जीतन राम मांझी को रिजाइन करना पड़ा, आपने रिजाइन करवाया ना, आपने रिजाइन करवाया। मुझे ये बताइए, कार्तिकेय सिंह रिजाइन करेंगे क्या? कार्तिकेय सिंह रिजाइन करेंगे क्या?
मेरी बात सुन लीजिए,
इनके कहने से रिजाइन करेंगे,
बनती है,
इनके कहने से रिजाइन नहीं करेंगे।
चलिए,
इनके
यशवर्धन आजाद, फाइनल वर्ड्स टू यू।
ये लोग फोर्स कर देंगे नीतीश।
अरे मेरी बात तो पहले पूरी सुन लीजिए इस बात को।
अरे आपको बिहार की
यशवर्धन आजाद, फाइनल वर्ड्स टू यू।
Unfortunately, in this debate, no political party has an upper hand.
Yes.
Because as you rightly said, in every state there are tainted ministers. And therefore the standards of probity being such in India, it is expected. But in Bihar, one expected this would not happen. But I have a feeling, Maria, that the minister will have to resign sooner or later because the arrest warrant is hanging over his head. He may have got reprieve till September 1. But the very fact that despite the arrest warrant, he has been inducted is a sheer indictment of the ministry. And I do hope he has to resign in the interest of Bihar.
Yes, and Yashwardhan Azad, given the nature of portfolio, that becomes even more problematic. The law minister, he is holding the crucial law portfolio. So can he continue in office? Not really. if Nitish Kumar made 3 ministers resign in the past, given the nature of allegations that they had, be it Ramadhar Singh or Jitan Ram Manjhi or Mewalal Chaudhary, then why not Kartikeya Singh? It should not be seen from the point of view of Mahagathbandhan 2.0 or Jungle Raj charge that is being levelled by the BJP for the moment. It's more to do with him trying to send that message that he has zero tolerance towards corruption, he has zero tolerance towards criminal antecedents.
Absolutely.
And Maria, as conclusion, a person who breaks the law should not make the law. This is settled by the Supreme Court as well.
All right. Ajay Singh, Yashwardhan Azad, Love Kumar, Chitranjan Gagan and Nikhil Anand, thank you so much for joining us. Shifting focus to now what was a big shake-up, surprise and shock that came from the BJP.
Our Prime Minister's expectation is I must build up the party in South India and also must come back power in the Karnataka.
It has given a very big boost for BJP in Karnataka. All the workers are very happy. The people of Karnataka are also very happy.
But if you are strong, if you had repeated a government, why would they have removed it?
Shifting focus to debate 2, there has been a major shake-up in the BJP. The party has rejigged its parliamentary board completely with 6 new faces. These include the BJP's Lingayat strongman B.S. Yediyurappa, who had to make way for a younger representation in Basavaraj Bommai in Karnataka only last year. BJP sending a message that even today, Yediyurappa remains the best bet for the party in the crucial state of Karnataka, and hence the 79-year-old is now a member of the highest decision-making body of the BJP. There are many surprises as well. Iqbal Singh Lalpura, for example, he's the first Sikh representative in the parliamentary board, signalling the seriousness with which the party will be approaching Punjab going forward. For the Northeast representation, there is former Assam Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal, Union Minister Nitin Gadkari, and Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan have been dropped from the new BJP parliamentary board. With Chauhan gone, now there is no serving BJP Chief Minister on this crucial board. The woman representation is with Sudha Yadav, a relatively unknown face. She is a former MP from Mahendragarh in Haryana and a party national secretary. The elevation of K. Lakshman, who is 66-year-old by the BJP, is seen as a gesture towards backward class voters in poll-bound Telangana. The only constant in this reshuffle, I would say, of course, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah, BJP Chief JP Nadda and BL Santosh. Union Minister Rajnath Singh, also a former BJP chief, has made a re-entry into the parliamentary board. So what is the big message that is going from this rejig? Much anticipated rejig, I would say. Let me bring in my guests. Tushar Gupta, senior editor, Swarajya magazine. Rashid Kidwai, author, journalist. Radhika Ramaseshan, senior journalist, someone who has tracked the BJP very, very closely. Radhika, we were all waiting for this, list, I would say, because after the demise of Sushma Swaraj, Arun Jaitley, and also elevation of Venkaiah Naidu to the vice president's chair, there are certain exits also that made to the governor's house. There was a lot of anticipation as to who will be included in this board. Many surprises for you, but tell me, how many names did you actually Google to find out who they are and what is their background?
Since I'm very familiar with the BJP, the only name I Googled was that of the person from Punjab. I was frankly not very familiar with his name. Now, Satyanarayan Jatia, for instance, as long as I've covered the BJP, I've known Mr. Jatia. Yes. Sudha Yadav from Haryana. I think she made a bit of a splash in the 96 or 98 election because she had lost her husband in on the battlefront, so to speak. So the BJP fielded her from Mahindragarh, and sort of the emotional quotient was very high in that election. And after that, she has been serving the organization in various capacities. Of course, she seemed to have retreated, just like Mr. Jatia. What surprised me is when I checked on Mr. Jatia's bio, it said he's more or less retired. So to me, the big lesson from this whole shuffle is that A, it is a 100% Narendra Modi exercise. And B, there is the concept of a Margdarshak Mandal seems to have been given the go-by for the moment.
I would agree on that, because with 79-year-old this man on our television screens, B.S. Yedurappa, making a comeback. Radhika, again, Margdarshak Mandal was supposed to be 75 plus. B.S. Yedurappa is 79.
Yeah, he's going to be 80 in February, next February. But it is a recognition of the fact that he is still their most pivotal leader in Karnataka.
Absolutely.
You know, the BJP has one fixed vote bank, that of the Lingayats. It cannot afford to lose even a part of that vote bank. Hence the importance of Mr. Yedurappa, who has a mass base, a large following. He has the support of the Lingayat clergy. Let's not forget that the clergy is very important. Baswaraj Bommai, although he is a Lingayat, he has not been able to cultivate any of those attributes. So therefore,
and does it also in many ways then settle the entire buzz that has been doing the rounds, that will there be another rejig or change of chief minister in the state of Karnataka? For the moment, it looks like it has been, right, Radhika?
Yeah, I think Mr. Bommai will stay, but but as somebody told me last week, that we will fight the election under the leadership of Modi. I mean, the Karnataka
That's right. The biggest face that the BJP has. Tushar, come in on this. 2014 onwards is a new BJP. Let's be clear that the kind of social engineering that they have done, the kind of welfareism the message is, the restructuring that the party has done. What do you think is the big takeaway in this? Would you say that the focus is on catchment areas, the states which they see as potential? They want to ensure that there is a Northeast representation, a representation from Telangana as well.
See, the recent political shakeups, especially in Bihar and what we saw in Bengal, do warrant a significant loss for the BJP in these two states, at least when it comes to 24. So where do they look next? They can't afford to lose Karnataka. They can't afford to lose Haryana, even after 10 years of being in power in the state. But what stands out for me is the leaders from Telangana and Punjab. Punjab is going to be an important state with 13 seats in 2024 because the Aam Aadmi Party will be facing the political backlash from the Akalis, which will probably go back to the NDA by then, which will be Captain Amrinder Singh and whatever is left from the Congress. So for the BJP to have someone from Punjab was very, very important. They're taking those 13 seats very, very seriously. Look at Telangana. They have made some gains in the local elections. They have made their presence felt, but now they want to go for the kill in 2024 elections. Coming to the state elections, Madhya Pradesh is going to elections later next year. Karnataka will have a significant election. And who else can Yedurappa? Now, my point is that a takeaway that the party does not have enough trust in Bommai even now? Or maybe they want to keep Yedurappa in good faith until 2024. So these permutations and combinations are working out. But the larger picture is that they want to balance the state and the 2024 elections while taking care of the caste equations, while taking care of the areas where they want to sustain their vote bank, say Karnataka or the Northeast and Madhya Pradesh, while also looking out for gains in Punjab and Telangana.
Yes, Rashid, while we talk about those who have made entry into this, what about those who have been dropped? Now you don't have any chief minister in the parliamentary board. We do know that there were certain chief ministers hoping that they will find a place. The fact that Shivraj Singh Chauhan, 4-time chief minister, has been dropped, and Nitin Gadkari as well, former BJP chief. How do you look at that?
Yes. So, Maria, normally in political parties, a parliamentary board is seen as membership to parliamentary board is seen as some kind of recognition of their stature, etc. This happens in normally in political parties. But whenever you have a supreme leader kinds of concept, somebody who is a big vote catcher, somebody who draws crowd, then all these things become blurred. So, is this that the BJP wants to blur this line of succession that is being talked about, and not to give any indication of any recognition of weighty leaders, and Shivraj Singh and Nitin Gadkari come in that. So it's a vote catcher thing. Second thing is about that relationship with RSS. They are on same page, and so whatever changes are brought, nobody has any kind of objection. Anybody who symbolically, I don't think Mr. Lalpura or other people have a effect, political weightage to make the party win. After end of the day, the votes are voters are attracted by Mr. Narendra Modi and Mr. Amit Shah. So this is the thing. Everybody's there on Daya and Kripa kind of thing is there for their induction, and this is being talked about in media. But I think politically, it just reinforces the thing that the big two, they matter and rest of them don't.
Is that the right assessment, Radhika?
As far as the succession business is concerned, I don't think the issue sort of rears its head in the BJP at all. I mean, to think of Mr. Gadkari as some kind of a successor, you've got to be kidding me. Gadkari is virtually on the fringes now. They've raised a leader like Devendra Fadnavis, who's from Vidarbha. I mean, he's had his ups and downs. Maybe he's not in the most robust of health, but he's still a factor, and he's been inducted in the Central Election Committee as well.
Central Election Committee. Yes.
And Shivraj Singh Chauhan. I mean, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, he sort of owed everything finally to Mr. Modi. I mean, his job was virtually on the line, but he was reinstated simply because they don't have another OBC leader, and the OBC votes matter in Madhya Pradesh. So I think it's unrelated to succession. Now, why have these two been dropped? I think it's a kind of Chauhan will definitely stay as the chief minister till the next Madhya Pradesh elections, and depending on the outcome,
that's next year.
It will be known. As for Mr. Gadkari, I really think that his electoral fate is on the line for the moment. I don't know if they will give him a ticket again from Nagpur or what awaits him, but I think he's the one who's got dented the most in this exercise.
And the woman representation here, because we have seen Sushma Swaraj in the parliamentary board, Radhika. Now you have Sudha Yadav.
Yeah,
that contrast will be talked about.
Definitely. I mean, Sudha is definitely knows Sushma Swaraj. She is an extremely soft-spoken person. She knows the organization in and out. I've interacted with her a number of times. But, there is really no Sushma Swaraj in the BJP today. Of course, I mean, they have weighty women like Nirmala Sitaraman, Smriti Irani, and so on. But if you're looking at Sushma Swaraj, well, Sushma Swaraj can't be surpassed that easily, so her lack will be felt at some point or the other. And definitely Sudha Yadav is not really a substitute for her. In the Central Election Committee, you have an ex-officio member,
Vanthi Srinivas,
from Tamil Nadu. Yes. Again, I mean, she's not really known outside of Tamil Nadu. So,
but I think, again, Radhika, I'll take that question to Tushar as well. The BJP is sending a message that this board is now looking at more states where they want to make inroads. For example, Telangana, they want to find place there. They have won 4 MPs in 2019. 2024, they want to better their performance. Again, Tamil Nadu, and that is the reason why this kind of representation, Tushar, would you say? The state representation?
Absolutely. Maria, what really fascinates me is the focus on Punjab.
Yes,
For the longest period of time, BJP paid little attention to Punjab, playing a second fiddle to the Akalis within the SAD BJP coalition. Now they have a member in the parliamentary board, and that's a good sign, because where the state of Punjab is today, the kind of debt it is in, the kind of political situation it is in, it warrants the attention of the BJP. It's a good catchment area. And mind you, there will be some states where the BJP might not score as well as it did in 2019 and 2014, be it Bengal, it could be Bihar, we don't know, but it could be as of things stand today. So to have focus on the states where gains can be made, it's a very interesting move. And also, I wouldn't look too much into it when it comes to Gadkari or Chauhan being eliminated from the board. These are two leaders who are very secure in their stature, as both as the chief minister and a union minister. I wouldn't look too
Rashid,
much into it. Rather,
the
I would
BJP
look
is saying
into the names.
Inclusion.
Sorry?
Those who have been included. Fine enough. Rashid, the BJP is saying that they are getting battle ready for 2024, 2023 onwards, because there are several elections this year as well. The Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh go to polls. Then there is Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, several elections lined up. That's what they are saying. The question is, what about the opposition? When are the elections that are happening in Congress?
Yeah, I mean, that perhaps explain why the Congress is in such a, because, you know, this month there was supposed to be organizational elections. There is no sign of it. There is no formal announcement so far. But coming back to the, BJP, I think the BJP must, if it was really serious and sincere about all these things, then Yogi Adityanath should have found a place in the high table. And so was the Assam Chief Minister. I think, again, this exercise, basically BJP likes to do this kind of things about they're very high on optics. When they say that, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, I would repeat that it is not that these leaders would make a, big mark. And as Radhika ji was saying about Jatia, making a big, significance in Madhya Pradesh. I mean, anybody who knows the ground situation would not second that. And if at all, then it was Shivraj Singh Chauhan. Line of succession comes in because that kind of, people like Yogi Adityanath are not drafted, Assam Chief Minister is not drafted. So somehow a kind of attempt is there because we know that, there's a lot of buzz going on. What will happen in 24? What will happen after 24? All these things are there. So some kind of exercise is being done so that nobody emerges that kind of strong.
Okay. Radhika, your final words.
Yeah, I mean, you want me to comment on the succession?
No, not really on the succession part. It does come as a huge surprise, this list. There are several names that are completely...
Yogi?
Yes, completely not expected. I would say all these 6 names do come as a surprise, but again, the BJP would have done some kind of calculation, understanding fully well what their idea is going ahead. This is based on electoral assessment, Radhika.
Okay, I mean, didn't you find it surprising that Sarbanand Sonowal was inducted in the Central Parliamentary Board? I mean, I would imagine that Hemanta Biswa Sarma is the lord and monarch of all that he surveys in the east, the northeast, and even as far as Bengal and Orissa. Now, my point is that, these two are such hardcore political animals, especially Mr. Narendra Modi, that I think, I mean, it's just an insinuation on my part, but Sonowal is there as some kind of a counterweight against Hemanta Biswa Sarma, because after all, they would not like a regional satrap to be, to morph into some kind of an omniscient figure. So I think Sonowal's induction is very deliberate. Yedurappa's is deliberate for a totally different reason, but Sonowal's was definitely a bit of a surprise to me. I wouldn't have thought that he would come into the parliamentary board.
Yes.
As far as Jatia is concerned, well, I agree with Rashid. I don't know what his electoral value is at the moment. He was, in his own time, he stood for labor rights and trade unionism. He had very good relations with the Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh, but now I don't know. But I'm sure they're going to use him in some way or the other, as also Sudha Yadav, who is a backward caste person. Yes. And Haryana's caste, small as Haryana is, the caste mosaic is extremely complex. You have the Bishnois, the Jats, and so on. So somewhere there are also OBCs. And Sudha Yadav, woman, OBC, she may be used in that capacity, I think.
All right. Radhika Ramaseshan, Tushar, and Rashid Kidwai, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. On that note, we are slipping into a short break. After that, we'll get you details on the ED charge sheet against Jacqueline Fernandez.